the straight jacket,
Yeah.
the lovely straight jacket, the funny cage, and what was the other one?
Happy handcuffs.
Yeah, dude. Dudes to Dads is a podcast to help men understand and navigate the transition of being a single dude into a family man. How do we make sense of it all? Well, we probably won't be able to, but let's go ahead and have some fun trying. Well, hello again.
Hello.
Alan, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. My name is Jason Kreidman,
And I'm Alan Bush.
and this is Dudes to Dads.
Yes.
We have another wonderful episode today.
I like the adjective wonderful.
Which one?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Your
Well,
adjective.
I changed. You know what? I am making a promise to change the adjectives every time we have an episode until I decide not to change it.
Right, exactly. Well, there you go. Then the
Didn't you
problem's
just say
always
that
kept.
last week? Yeah. Once again, we are recording late.
Yeah.
After a very full day.
Yes.
But it's okay because
Hey,
it's
all
you
good.
know,
Labor of love, right?
it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good. I've got my water next to me, so
Okay.
my energetic water. I guess that's
We all
yeah.
need it, right?
Yeah. But
70% of our body.
yeah, part of it is posture too. I'm going to sit up straight in my chair,
Yeah.
lean back, head up.
Yeah.
But you know, part of what excites me is what we're going to talk about.
Right.
That's what's really exciting about the podcast.
Exactly.
Do want to say absolutely loved our last podcast with Kevin.
Yeah.
My good friend.
Yep.
Little bit deeper topic, or I should say serious topic.
Sure.
Not deeper. We
Always
always
go
deal
deep.
with the deep stuff.
Sure.
But great topic. You know, he's absolutely one of my best friends, and you know, to be able to share some of that stuff is just great.
Yeah, yeah, and it's important to people to know about these type of things, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will be interested. And it doesn't just apply to the arthritis; it applies to almost any disorder.
Right. If anybody has not had a chance to check that out,
Yeah.
our previous episode, it's great. So
Yeah.
go ahead and check it out. So a little bit of rundown of what we're going to discuss today. We're going to start out with stuff to do and give a little suggestion for some riding a bike a little differently.
Okay.
Okay, that's as much as I'll give you.
Okay.
And then for Supercharge, which we talk about products, actually something that will go on your bike.
Oh, cool.
So it's something that kids can use. It'll go on your bike.
Yeah.
And we got some mail. And this mail helped shape some of the stuff we're going to talk about today.
Oh, okay.
All I can say to kind of make it, you know, sell it,
Yeah.
if you will, it's about punishment.
Ah.
Discipline, punishment, etc. And it's a hot topic. It's stuff that I've been talking about lately, whether it was my meetup or just in, you know, friends and family and stuff.
Yeah.
It's been a topic that's come up quite a bit. So we're
Cool.
going to talk about punishment.
Awesome.
And we have a dad's debate, and guess what? It's about punishment
It's
as well.
about punishment
yes.
as well, okay.
Yeah, looking forward to your feedback on that one. We will go into Light Her Fire, which normally Dr. Ellen will talk about the romance and the things between men and a woman.
Yeah.
This time it ties into the discipline and such of, you know, what to do when your kids are doing something wrong.
Cool. So it's a very disciplinary episode.
It is. Because guess what? The homework, which will come next after that, and quote of the day, all tied in. 30-something episodes, and I'm finally getting this. Like, hey, here's a theme. Maybe we should go with
tie
that
in the
rather than
running
jumping
theme.
from one thing. Well, unlike my conversation and the way that I talk,
Yeah.
the episode, not the episodes, but the segments
Yeah.
will all actually be related. Well, not the first two, but the other ones.
Yeah. If you count bike as discipline.
Yeah. So anything else before we start?
No,
we're
let's
good.
get
Let's
rolling.
jump right into it then. Let's start with stuff to do.
Dad, what are we going to do today?
So the suggestion for stuff to do today is to create a bike track.
Okay.
Okay, now I'll explain what that means. I'll give you an example of what happened. So on our street, we are lucky enough to live in a cul-de-sac. So there's not a lot of traffic coming.
Yeah.
So our kids can go outside and play in the street. Okay. That's, not everybody lives in an area where that's possible. I mean, whether they live in a condo or they live in apartments or, high rise or, all over the world, there's all different
you
types
of build a bike track on
different
top
types
of,
of dwellings. But,
right.
We're in Southern California in San Diego and, it's ridiculously, nice weather the majority of the year. Kids can play outside and they ride their bike out, out in the street.
Yep.
And I did this when I was young, and so my kids love that and they enjoy riding outside. Now the difficulty is that if you don't live in that safe an environment, or there's traffic, or there's the potential of cars, you certainly are not want your kids doing that.
Right.
But for those who may have the ability, whether maybe it's even in the backyard.
Yeah.
But since we have the street, is you actually create a bike track. And the way that I did that was with chalk.
Oh, okay.
So what you would do is, you take the chalk and you outline two sides of a track. Okay. And so it's actually so the children can ride their bikes in between the track, if you will.
Yeah.
And you make circle, round, go all the way. And so what it did, this was somewhat unintentional, but it ended up keeping them right there.
Oh, right in
the close vicinity of the house.
Right.
So because I made it a fairly tight track, so it would wind around itself and stuff. We put a start up, we put a finish up, we did it all, and then we would time them. Yeah. To go through the track, and they loved it.
That's awesome.
So, of course, when the kids love something, then they want to do it every day.
Sure.
So, Dad, can we have a track? Dad, can we have a track?
All right, I gotta go draw.
So one of the difficulties with the track, or that I found with the track, was making it because my back or something would hurt because leaning over with chalk for a long period of time is not that easy to do.
You have a lot longer to lean over than you do.
I put a stick on it one time. I taped the chalk to a stick.
That's awesome.
I was trying all kinds of stuff. Gosh, this is just. I want to do this, but I'm getting tired. And then I said, and they wanted to do it. So I let them do it. But of course, then it was all all over the place. And I wanted to make sure it was straight.
Yeah, right.
And so, so that was something, I thought it was cool. It kept them in the vicinity.
Yeah.
It was fun. They got to participate. And then I actually rode my bike too through it.
That's cool.
So we all got to just ride through it. And, you got to have some rules maybe of not passing or something like that.
Yeah.
But I noticed even in my daughter was in kindergarten and they have a bike track at the kindergarten. So they keep them, and that makes sense because it keeps them in somewhat of a confined space.
Yeah.
And, hey, you have to go this direction on this track, whatever. And so I just thought, that's something that, you could do pretty easily.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was a fun exercise. And
I grew up in a rural environment and we kind of did that.
Dirt.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And there was kind of in a wooded area that was it hadn't been developed. It was just right next to my friend's house. It was on the same neighborhood, but it was just a little plot, a small plot of land. And we rode our bikes through it because it was paths that were in there. And we created some paths in there.
Yeah, totally.
And so that was a lot of fun.
Huge jumps. And
jumps
all
too.
kinds of
Yeah.
stuff.
That was the other thing. Mom saw me doing that.
See the thing on my chin here? The scar? Yeah.
From that?
That's a bike jump. Yeah. I'm You
got stitches.
As an adult, I think I was 9 or 8 or something. I got stitches all across my face. So,
That's funny.
Good times. So that I just thought it was fun. It's something to create a bike track, for your kids. I mean, and they can skate, they can do whatever, but it's the idea of keeping them somewhat confined.
Yeah.
But in an enjoyable way.
Right.
So as a result of that, I actually found a product, and that leads us into Supercharge. So as I explained in the stuff to do with the bike track, one of my difficulties was leaning over and making the track. Or you can get down on the ground, but it's a big track. It's not like it was just this little tiny circle or something.
Right.
So I found this. I wasn't even looking for this. I came across this on this cool product website.
Yeah.
Bike chalk trail kit.
That's an actual thing?
So what it is, think of almost like training wheels.
Yeah.
On the back of a bike is these two forks, and they hold a piece of chalk securely in.
So you
could ride your bike to either create the track or just make designs and whatever. And so it comes with the holder and like I think 5 pieces of chalk or something.
Okay.
It's like $25-$30 or something
That's
like
so
that.
funny.
I'll put a link to it. It's on
Yeah.
this website, uncommongoods.com.
Yeah.
But it was just so funny because I'm like, that would have been so great, if I would have had that.
Yeah.
I can still get it, but we haven't made a track in like a couple months. But
Right.
it's definitely just makes it so much easier. And I thought it's a cool idea for them to do their own designs. Like they have a video on there and they show like, how you can make the designs. But it's just this piece of chalk on the back of a bike, which is so easy. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to get a stick, and it kept on coming off.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm just not that much of an engineer. And
Well, someone else is, and they built a product for it.
correct, and they're gonna make a lot of money.
That's
from it.
clever. That it's attached to the bike, so like you could be the track master and just ride your bike
Totally.
and build the track for them. Then they have to follow you.
Totally. Yeah. No. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
that was supercharged.
Yeah.
So, we're just, some of the fun things we're just talking about. We are going to get into something a little bit more serious, and that now we're going to do that with the mailbag.
Mail. We got mail.
So this was from Kyle, and Kyle doesn't say where he's from, but we got an email. In fact, you can email us if you have questions or comments or concerns, feedback, anything. Podcast@dudestodads.com.
That's right.
You can also follow us on Twitter @dudestodads.
And Facebook.
And Facebook, Dudes to Dads.
And iTunes and Stitcher.
Now, what they can do is send us an email, and we will answer it.
Yes. We
Well,
may not read it on the
We may not read it, but we will definitely answer it.
Yeah.
We do answer everything that we get. But this was something that stood out because it was related to an issue that I have been dealing with myself.
Yeah.
So it says, this is Kyle once again. Kyle says, I really enjoy listening to the podcast. However, my wife and I cannot agree on something. How to punish our kids when they do something wrong. My wife doesn't believe in punishments, and I totally disagree. I think kids need to learn a lesson. There needs to be consequences for their actions. What do you guys think? So, to me, that sounds like a dad's debate.
They're like merged.
Yeah, well, so I was going to, the mailbag, it just made sense because I was
Yeah.
thinking about this. I was like, well, we can answer that question.
Yeah.
But I think it's better answered in a little bit of a discussion.
Yeah. No, that's good.
See how this is working?
Yeah. It's all blended together.
So here's the debate. The debate is, do you punish your kids? And what I mean by that is, there's different kinds of punishment. We're not saying whether you spank or not or whatever, but
Okay, yeah.
it's literally just, discipline and how you discipline.
Yeah.
The question really is, does punishment work?
Right,
if a kid,
right.
I'll give you an example. Let's say your son or daughter comes home and they had really bad grades. You've warned them about the grades. What do you do?
Yeah.
You take away their favorite toy, they get punished, they get whatever. Video games, they get, their video games taken away.
Right.
So that's an important thing. I actually, in doing some sort of So I had come across this topic on a previous podcast we did when we were talking about how to connect with your children and all that stuff when we did the blab.
Yeah.
I came across this, but I also came across this other article where the parent made the child smash their Xbox
Oh, geez.
because they had gotten bad grades.
Made the kid do it.
Made the kid do it and recorded it and posted it.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know. So, that's an
rude.
extreme.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
an extreme thing. But I wanted to understand, what your thoughts are about punishment and discipline when that kind of situation may happen. Let's even go to a more extreme. The child hits their sibling. What do you do?
Yeah. Oh, well, I guess obviously I would tell him not to do that.
Right.
Or her not
Yeah.
to do that. It kind of explain the consequences of doing their actions and maybe
Well, the
hopefully-
consequences, so one of the things we all do as parents is, go to your room.
Well, yeah.
And that's not necessarily the punishment, but
No.
it's just because you don't know what to do, so you just get out of here.
Just get out of
until
my
I figure
face.
this. Yeah, until I figure this out. That and you get really upset and you yell and you do that kind of thing.
Right.
That's what I'm asking. Or that's the debate. Is, does the punishment work?
Yeah, I have a lot of kind of mixed feelings about punishment because I do believe that kids can understand if you talk to them a certain way and hope they develop some form of empathy so they know the difference between right and wrong rather than punishing them and just making sure that they, are trying to avoid
like I say, let's say the kid has bad grades, and you've warned them. You've warned them. They had a bad grade, whatever. And you say, and you threaten by saying, "Listen, if you get a C, I'm taking your games away
I'm going to destroy your Xbox."
Well, no, but even just let's say less violent. I'm going to take your games away until you can get your grades back up.
Right. Yeah, because he's obviously causing a distraction for you. So let's see if we can focus better.
Is that, yeah.
I don't know if that's a punishment. It's more of like, well, this is it kind of is.
Well, it's a punishment because the kid is distraught over not having his Xbox.
Yeah. I guess I would be in favor of punishment like that, where you're kind of there's also the other side of the coin of basically giving them the positive reinforcement. If you get your grades up, you'll be able to get this.
Right.
So what
do you like
better?
That too?
I do like that. I do like that in terms of how I relate to things. But that being said, I did.
The question is whether it works. So here's where this is a new area for me because I think I came into prior to learning more about this topic very similar, where I was like, I don't punish my kids in that sense. I mean, we talked about, spanking, which I don't do.
Right.
But more like, okay, talking to them and explaining, et cetera. But at the same time, the threat of something like, hey, if you do this, this is going to happen.
Right.
Or if you hit your sister, you are getting this taken away, whatever. So I had some situations with my son, and I think we talked about this on a previous episode where I asked him, and I said, listen, you did something bad. If I take this away, is that going to keep you from doing it?
Right.
And just straight up asking.
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
You're right.
So I started looking into this more, this topic of punishment and such. And when I go back to whether it's Susie's teachings, which we've had on the show, or the AHA Parenting with Dr. Laura Markham, which is great, and I brought that in.
Yeah.
I started looking at a lot more of this stuff. I haven't gotten too much information that supports punishment.
Okay.
I'm trying to see what do I do? What do I do in these situations?
Sure.
And so a lot of what is happening here that I'm seeing is that the punishment really doesn't teach them. Now, people will argue that for sure to say, he's going to learn not to do it because he doesn't want to get that taken away.
It's the same thing touching a hot stove type of thing.
But I'm gonna say, and these are experts who have dealt with children for years. Mm-hmm. The majority of these experts, at least that I'm seeing, say they learn faster when they're not punished because they get to focus. You get to discuss the behavior and what happened. Because when you punish them, they're really just then mad at you.
Right.
They're not thinking about what I did wrong.
Right.
They're thinking about how the heck did I? And that's something that why wouldn't they then lie next time?
Well, and I get that part too. And actually, that's kind of where my debate is that, when you're trying to avoid punishment, are you learning the lesson or are you just trying to avoid punishment? And that's not the lesson. That's not what you don't know why you don't need to do these things.
Right.
And so now that being said, I picked up on that as a kid and understood that certain things are just bad because they may hurt somebody or it's causing a problem.
You learned empathy.
Yeah, I learned a sort of empathy, right? So
what that means is you learned it because somebody explained it to you.
Maybe not though.
No?
No, because I'd get punished on some level.
But then I'm saying they would punish you, but then would they explain it to you?
Yeah, I guess to some degree. And I think of especially my grandparents, they were very they had that wisdom about them.
Yeah.
And they would just don't do that because X, Y, Z. Or they talk to me like I'm an adult.
But you still got in trouble.
Well, no, yeah, very rarely. I was usually a good kid. Okay, but I mean, yeah, you can't go to this thing now or whatever it was. So disappointing because we were making.
But did that make you not do? That's what I'm trying to make the connection.
It made me not do it anymore.
It did.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, I didn't resent them for.
Do you know why you did? But did you not then do whatever you were not supposed to do anymore because you learned about what that effect was, or you just didn't want because you knew you wanted to go somewhere? You know what I'm saying?
Well, both. I didn't want to get in trouble. I didn't want to disappoint my guardian, my grandmother at the time, and then at the same time, I understood why. Because I wasn't stupid. I know she was. I know she was white.
How old are you talking about?
I'm talking
Is this when you're a little older? versus
Yeah, not like little. Like I'm talking like 8 or 9 or something.
Okay.
Like that. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm thinking like around that age.
Right.
8 or 9 or 10 or something like that. So.
Well, because some of the philosophies is when you make your children suffer, let's call it suffering in some aspect, it really has a tendency to backfire.
Yeah, and I can see that being like that built up resentment comes up too.
Right.
And there's the other thing too, because I know
what do we want?
Different methods.
We want them to trust us.
Yeah, exactly.
We want them eventually as a healthy adult to be able to come to, or even as a young adult, to come to us with their emotion and their thoughts and whatever, and for us to not be judgmental and also for them to feel safe with us.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a very, very interesting topic to me because I see this different perspective that before I really didn't think too much like that, although I was actually raised like that.
Yeah.
So I did think about not punishing them, but I also thought, well, they've got to learn somehow.
Right. And then I guess at what age are you able to kind of explain to them and they get it versus them just only knowing consequences and rewards? Because
there's no reward either.
I feel like at a certain age they know only a kind of two-sided thing, and they have some sense of empathy, but they're developing it. When they're a little older, they develop.
So this kind of parenting style, also doesn't have reward though. So it's not like you not punishing, but you're also not rewarding. So in other words, they don't get stars for doing something, reinforcing behavior. They'll do it because they know that they'll feel better about it or whatever. I mean, this is a broad topic. But
no, and it can go into a big rabbit hole. I get it. It's funny. I was thinking about this, I swear, the other day, because when my cat does something crazy, I just squirt him. He tries to open the door and rip the screen off the door so he can get outside just to run around. And I just squirt him. Hey, stop doing that. And he's like, oh, okay.
Does he stop doing it though?
He'll come back around. For right then. But he'll come back around and try to get back out again. So I'm like, I have to.
You can't teach him about why the screen costs money and everything else.
He doesn't get the empathy part. He's like, I want to go out there. I'm going to try to figure it out. I'm going to wait for you to turn your head and I'm going to try to do it again.
Right.
I'm like, can you squirt kids? Is that rude?
Well, so one of the things I've tried to, or both my wife and I have tried to instill with our kids is, if you tell the truth, you don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because that's what Dr. Ellen, my mother, has to say. And so I think we should check that out in Light Her Fire. So what Dr. Ellen is going to talk about, it's funny, this is, there's a couple stories, and she's referring to her son, who's 2 and 6. So this is 30-something years ago. But it's amazing to now hear these stories. Because, it's not that I haven't heard them before, but
that's great.
It is really interesting to hear the stories. Because, it's not, punishment doesn't really work, and you're instead of reinforcing about telling the truth and doing that. So let's hear what she says, and then we'll talk about that.
Now I want to talk to you about human nature. Children start out fully in touch with their feelings, and they share them in a completely honest and truthful way. If you ask a 2 or 3-year-old whether he broke that toy, he'll proudly shake his head up and down and say, yes, he's telling you the truth. I think it's human nature for a child to be honest and tell the truth. Do you know what most parents do at that point? They yell and they say, go to your room, you've been a bad little boy. Or you ask him if he broke that vase. Again, he's honest and says yes. Then you tell him how much he's hurt Daddy by doing that. I'm assuming that you have a fairly bright, intelligent child. How many times do you think he's going to tell the truth before he thinks, I don't want to get in trouble and I don't want to hurt Daddy, so I'll tell a lie. Then I won't be in trouble and he won't be hurt. Sounds pretty intelligent to me. Later on, children learn that they have to lie in school as well. When a teacher asks, all right, who's been talking? The one who owns up, the one who tells the truth, the one who takes responsibility for what he did, gets sent to the principal's office. For most of us, telling the truth equals punishment or pain for somebody they love. My children never lie to me because from the very beginning, I taught them that as long as they tell me the truth, they'd always get a hug. Believe me, there were times when this was really hard to do, but I never broke my promise no matter what. Let me give you a few examples of how I handled some real-life situations when my children were little. My son at age 2. The question, did you hit Jeannie? His answer, yeah, she made me mad. My reaction, come here and let me hug you for telling the truth. After the hug, we would talk about better ways to deal with getting mad at somebody. My final response, a big kiss and a hug for being honest. Now my son at age 6. Question, did you start the fire under our neighbor's house? Oh, please let it not be him. Answer, yeah. There were 3 of us playing and we didn't think it was going to go anywhere. My reaction? Come here and let me give you a hug for telling the truth. This was a hard one. I was grinding my teeth and seething with anger. After the hug, there was an apology to the neighbor and an honest discussion of what could have happened if the fire hadn't been discovered in time and had spread. We also talked about the pain and suffering that our neighbors would have gone through if they had lost everything they owned. We also talked about the possibility of people dying if they were taking a nap at the time it happened. And finally, we went to the library and read some books on fire hazards and safety. There he could see pictures of what a fire could do. My final response? A big kiss and a hug for being so brave and telling us the truth.
So as I had mentioned prior to the clip, it's, it's not about the punishment.
Yeah.
It's reinforcing that telling the truth is important if you want to maintain that connection with the kid.
Right.
I'm a little embarrassed that the story when I was 6 about lighting fires. Actually, I told that story. But remember, I think I had told that story in the context that I didn't get in trouble.
Right.
And the rest of the children in the neighborhood did.
Yep.
Guess what?
Yeah.
She taught me, here's what happens if you light a fire.
Yeah. No, I
here's
like
the
that
result
approach.
of it. Instead of you're grounded, you're getting this taken away. You're doing it,
I'm
which
such a
all
fan
the
of
other
that.
kids did.
Right, exactly, and that goes back to the thing where I'm really I like the explanation that your mom was saying, that she explained to you what the problem, why you shouldn't do those things,
Right.
and assumed that you would be able to. Pick
And then
that
gives
up.
me a hug.
Yeah, it's like,
and
thanks
everyone
for
else
being
is like, "What the
truthful."
heck is this? This kid's not getting in trouble like
Yeah.
everyone else." But that's not one thing. That is over and over and over again of being able to trust that I can tell the truth.
Yeah.
My parents are going to support me in that truth.
Yeah.
And that I want to do the right thing. You're going to mess up.
Right.
And it's okay you mess up. It's like my sister with the flowers, and picking the flowers off of, somebody's lawn. It's like, oh, wow. Well, you know what? Other people would get really pissed off and do, and instead teaching them, it's like, you didn't fix the problem. You just created a problem for somebody else.
And it encourages them, was being explained, to tell the truth. And that's kind of the bottom line there. Is
Right.
that you want them to come to you with anything, good or bad.
Right.
And so if you're able to do that, then you'll have a more trusting relationship with your kids and your parents.
Yeah. And you'll have people that will respect that and do that. So it's a very interesting topic, I want to continue to learn more about it and what to do in those kinds of situations, because we're faced with that all the time.
Right.
I've just last weekend had a situation where I'm talking to my daughter and it's like, if you don't do this, you're gonna have this, and it's like, does that really work? It didn't work.
Yeah.
It
Right.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
There are times when it works, but just for the most part, it's amazing because it's I learn every day.
Yeah.
I'm learning more. It's, this is a topic for me that, because it also puts the parent at ease, because you realize that you don't need to get worked up over this stuff.
Right. We
get worked up and we get angry because we feel like, something was wronged, something was done bad, whatever. And so we feel like then we've got to, punish the person as a result of that. But our job is to guide them. It's about guidance. It's about, teaching them and coaching them to just do the right thing. And part of that is just telling the truth. That's the first step.
Yeah.
And then saying, okay, well, thank you for telling me the truth. Let's move on.
Right. Yeah. And that again, not to keep reinforcing that part, but I like the aspect of also just saying it's okay to make mistakes.
Right.
And that's one thing that, we make mistakes. We just didn't know, or certain things happen. You're like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that, and well, what happened there? I did this. Okay, well, great.
What'd you learn from
the truth? What'd you learn from it? Yeah. Did your hand burn from touching that stove?
Right.
You learn not to touch it anymore? Great. Now we can move on.
And this goes into sibling rivalry and hitting.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of examples.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So Dr. Laura Markham, which I had mentioned before on a previous episode of ahaparenting.com.
Yeah.
Just some great stuff. She talks about, there's some articles about this topic. There's some discussion forums. There's all these kinds of things. And she even asks her own kids, did it work? And she's got obviously a great relationship with her children, as a result of it. They're honest. They're talking to her. They're willing to give her feedback, and even saying the children are saying, hey, that wouldn't have made me change my behavior. It just would have made me get pissed off at you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's even something too, like I remember the example in Susie's parenting class where she talked about when someone gets arrested, and if a police officer is really rough with them for no reason, I'm not talking about they desert, but just, they're rough and whatever, or even maybe if they have a reason, the person who's getting arrested really very rarely, I'm guessing, thinks, oh man, I just shouldn't have done that.
Right.
At that moment, they are thinking, oh, look at this guy and what he's doing to me and using his power and blah, 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 whatever.
Be all that rough? What the heck?
Yeah. And so as a result, the person who did the wrong isn't learning very much.
Right.
Now, if a police officer or somebody, was very friendly with them, because they're still the same result. They're getting arrested.
Right.
It's the same result. But if they were respectful, and say, hey, listen, here's what's going on. Here's what you did, man. You made a mistake. And that's the majority. I'm sure they have training that's what they learn to do.
Sure.
As a result, they might be more inclined to think about what they did.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned this, like even Dog the Bounty Hunter, the show, I've seen that, where he's talking to them in the back. He treats them like humans.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, man, how's it going? What's going on with your family? I mean, he seems to genuinely care about these people, and they start to think about it.
Right.
And it's a technique, obviously, that he's using that, they start to think about, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
So with children, in the same manner as if we are caring to them and loving to them in those times of mistakes, they're going to be more apt to listen. Right. And to learn. Yeah. Versus can't believe my parents made me do this. Right. Can't believe they got me in trouble. Blah, blah. All you're doing then is blaming and then creating resentment and a kid that's disconnected with you.
Right. Right.
So it's just that's where I find this very, very interesting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic to sort of dive into. So
yeah, for sure.
So it's for Kyle and the mailbag, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah, circling back.
My advice: listen to your wife.
That goes for a lot of things.
Yeah, but in this instance, your wife doesn't believe in punishment, and she's probably right.
Yeah,
at least for my opinion.
Sure.
I don't know, Alan.
No, I'm kind of erring on that end as well. I kind of hearing what's going on kind of reinforces my original belief in that you shouldn't punish them, but you should talk to them about it.
If you have experiences like that where you've done either side, let us know. Podcast at dudestodads.com.
Yeah.
You can Twitter us.
Tweet us.
Yeah. At dudestodads as well.
Yeah.
So we have dad's homework. So let's do a little bit of that. So this one's an easy one. It's simple. When your child does something wrong, just don't punish them.
Do not
just
beat
try
your
it.
kids.
Try it. So, it might not be the norm for what, somebody typically does.
Right.
But think of an instance where you're threatening your child instead of threatening your child. If you do this, you're going to get this.
Yeah,
if you do this, whatever. And instead of it, and if they, that's the threat, but try not to do the threat.
Right.
But if they do something wrong, talk to them and try not to punish them.
Right.
And instead try to make it a learning experience.
Yeah.
From that. And try it.
Sure.
And see it. And it's not, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
But I think that's an important thing to do.
Right.
So it's an easy homework.
Yep.
Just try it and report back to us as well.
Yeah.
We love hearing the feedback.
Yeah.
Feedback
I didn't punish my kid today.
Well, and it's easier on you.
Sure.
It just is. It just is. So, well, we're going to finish up with a quote of the day.
Okay.
And the quote of the day is from Dr. Laura Markham, who I mentioned, from ahaparenting.com.
Yeah.
And this was in one of the articles. And it said, sure, kids need discipline, but the verb discipline means to guide. There's absolutely no reason why our guidance needs to be punitive. In fact, punishment backfires. We can't really control another person. All we really have to work with is influence, and punishment erodes that influence. If we want kids to accept our guidance, we need to maintain a positive relationship with them.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
Absolutely.
So with that, Mr. Bush.
Yes.
Gosh, I love that music. Not because it's over, the podcast is over. I just love the music.
Finally, we're done.
Well, no, because it's the same music on the intro. So.
Exactly.
But with that, another week, and we will see you next week.
All right. Take care, guys.
See you.